Hello, everybody. It's David here at Fifth Hammer coming to you with another battle report. This time we're going to be diving into some 5th edition. I heard some comments from people after the last one. What are you doing? Your channel's 5th Hammer. Why don't we have a 5th edition battle report? Actually, it was much kinder than that, but I heard the message, and the intention was always to do 5th edition stuff on this channel. However, I wanted to take it a little slow, do a little skirmish game, and as far as I'm aware, 5th edition didn't have a set of skirmish rules for me to use, so I kicked it up to 6th edition for that one, filmed the battle report, had a lot of fun, and here we are back today with a little bit of 5th edition, and as you're probably already seeing, we got some Dark Elves here. Look at that. Probably remember those guys from my painting table videos. There they are in all their glory. And across from them today, we have Empire, men of the Empire, and some halflings set up over there. And so the narrative that we're going to go with for this one is after the skirmish battle that took place in my first battle report. Some of the survivors from the baggage train ambush made it back down the road, notified the town here that the Dark Elves were coming to get them, and they've hastily readied their defenses, and they've sent out a call for aid. And so we're going to be playing the flank attack scenario from the Warhammer 5th edition battle book. And that scenario there, you'll see the defenders are starting across from us, attackers are starting closer to me, and then the flankers can show up here on either flank, A or B, on turn 3. So the Dark Elves don't know where the Empire reinforcements are going to come from. They could come from the left side of the table here or the right side of the table. They're not going to know. So their job is going to be to press on the Empire as quickly and viciously as possible. So you can take a look at the deployment here. I've got the cold ones set out on the right flank. We've got the War Hydra taking shelter here right now behind this hill, looking to come out down the middle of the field. We got the Corsairs here, looking poised to come across directly into the Empire center, and then 20 repeater crossbowmen all in a row, ready to let loose lots of shots downrange at those guys over there. On the Empire side of the field, you've got the great cannons set up over here in defensive cover, along with 9 Empire handgunners. We've got some militia over there. I know what you're saying. 5th edition didn't have militia. Well, I just made them up using the 5th edition point rules. They're just standard Empire troop stat line with an additional hand weapon, and I think I gave them light armor. So not anything spectacular. We'll see how they do today. Hopefully they fare better than they did in the skirmish game. We have some halflings here. I gave the Empire a level 2 wizard to just bring up the points to match the Dark Elves 1500, and it should be an interesting balance to see whether the magic power can counteract the Dark Elves War Hydra over there. We're going to see. And then we've got 25 spearmen led by their hero and a battle standard bearer over there. And in case I may have missed it, Dark Elves here on the flank have some scouts set up looking to come around and maybe hit those Empire spearmen on their flank. So it's all set up. It's all ready to go. I'll be back in a moment. We'll see what happens. So per the scenario rules, both sides roll off. Highest number goes first. Black Elves will be Dark Elves will be the black dice, and the Empire will be the red dice. So here we go. It's a tie. What do you know? I'm going to roll again. There we go. Empire is going first, so they're going to be happy to have that. I'm sure they'll enjoy having a free round of shooting in here. So let's go ahead and take care of the Empire movement phase, and we'll see what happens. As I'm not keen to move into the Dark Elves range, all the Empire The Halfling bows and the Empire handguns over there are range 24. It's the same range as the Dark Elves. So if I move into range to shoot them, the Dark Elves will be able to stand and shoot back at me. And I'm not super keen on those odds. So I think the handgunners and the Halfling bowmen over there are going to just stay put, wait a turn for the Dark Elves to potentially march into their field of fire, and the cannon is going to go ahead and take a shot down here at these Corsairs. So give me a moment to think about what range I want to lock in, and we'll see what happens. So how great cannons work in 5th edition is summarized here in the Empire Army book. In short, basically, I guess a distance, and then I roll a artillery dice and add whatever the value of that is to my guess. And that's where the ball lands. Then I roll it again to see how far it bounces, and anything in between where it lands and where it bounces is then hit with a wonderful strength 10 d6 wounds hit that allows no armor saves. So I've decided to guess 24 inches from the gun downrange to right at the banner. Actually, we'll move it. We'll put it right on that corner guy here in the Dark Elf Corsair unit. And we're guessing 24 inches. We're going to roll the scatter to see where the initial shot lands. And, oh, misfire. Oh, no. Let's go ahead and see what happens there. Have my dice tower facing the wrong way. All right, Empire. That is not the start you wanted. Let's see what happens. And a 3. We consult our chart. A malfunction. The powder fails to ignite. The cannon does not fire. The crew must remove the ball and powder before the cannon can shoot again, which takes another turn. The cannon, therefore, cannot fire either this turn or next turn. It is a good idea to turn the cannon around to indicate this. Oh, my. Well, right there, right out of the gate, more bad luck for the Empire. That has gone completely awry. They're going to have to spend this turn and next completely cleaning out that barrel as the Dark Elves march on. So handgunners and Halfling bowmen, it's going to fall to you to stop this Dark Elf tide. And here we are on Dark Elf turn 2. They're in their initial deployment. You're just seeing it from a little different angle here on the left flank of the battlefield. We're going to go ahead and resolve Dark Elf movement, and I'll give you a glimpse as to where everybody ends up. So one little quick thing before we recap the movement. I do need to take a leadership test, bound monster rule, for our War Hydra here, because he's a well-trained Dark Elf War Hydra. He gets to roll against Leadership 8 on 2d6. Let's go ahead and see what happens. Oh! Looks like the Empire isn't the only one with bad luck today. We've got a bound monster going loose on our hands. Let's roll, consult the table, and we will see what happens. All right, here we go. We're rolling a d6 and consulting the bound monster rule table. Let's see what happens. A 4. Struggles. The monster struggles against its enchantment or training, will neither move nor attack this turn, and it will not use any breath or special weapons either. So that is an inauspicious start for our Dark Elves. I guess it's kind of comforting knowing that it's not just Empire that has bad luck. So the Hydra's going to be stalled out here for a turn. And now we will roll on to check the stupidity on the Cold Ones against the General's Leadership 10. Let's see what happens. And they passed with snake eyes. So they're going to go ahead and move. I'll give you a quick recap here in a second where everything ends up. So here we are, end of Dark Elf movement on turn 1. The crossbowmen have moved up 5 inches in the hopes of getting in range of the Empire line down there. Corsairs marched up 10. As you know, the Hydra decided it didn't want to do anything this turn. And the Cold Ones marched up 16 directly at the Spearmen. And then over here, the Dark Elf Scouts crept around moving 5 in the hopes of getting some shots off at the Spearmen before the Cold Ones can close on them. We will go ahead and resolve Dark Elf shooting here in a moment. So here's the targets. The scouts are going to go ahead and shoot directly into those spearmen. And then over here, this unit of crossbows is going to fire into the halflings, and this unit of crossbows is going to fire at the Empire handgunners. So we'll go ahead and roll and resolve those in just a moment. Alright, so first we're going to resolve the crossbow unit on the far left here. They are firing into those Empire handgunners behind the hedge wall. Since the majority of them are behind the hedge and not the rock, I'm going to count as soft cover. That's -1 for moving and shooting, and an additional -1 for shooting over half range, and one more -1 for firing 2 bolts. So that's going to move their base roll to hit from a 3 up to a 6. They're going to fire twice. I'm going to roll 2 sets of 10. We'll see what happens here. That's a pretty lucky roll. I'm counting 1, 2, 3 6s there. We'll go ahead and mark that and roll again. And it's like just 1 this time. So I did my math wrong. It's actually going to be what's called a 7+ to hit, which the 5th edition talks about. It's actually -4 modifiers for my Dark Elves. -1 for moving, -1 for shooting over half range, -1 for shooting into soft cover, and -1 for shooting twice with their repeater crossbows. So that's going to actually take them to a 7+, which is any 6s you hit, you got to reroll and get a 4+ on. So we had 4 hits. Now I'm going to reroll those 4 and see if we can get 4+ on them. And we get 1 with a 6. Needs a 4 up to wound. Let's see if we can wound him. And it doesn't even wound. So completely ineffective shooting from the Dark Elves into those Empire handgunners behind the wall. Now the second unit of repeater crossmen will now fire at the halflings over there. They're going to be -1 for moving and shooting, -1 for being over half range, and -1 for firing twice. So these ones will actually be a 6. So I'm going to roll 2 sets of 10. Let's see what happens. And it looks like 1, 2, and 3 hits. Rolling again on the second set of 10. Let's see what they can do. And I count 3 again. So that'll be a total of 6 hits. So halflings are toughness 2, and the Dark Elves repeater crossbows hit at strength 3, which means the Dark Elves are going to wound them on a 3 or better. Rolling 6 rolls to wound. Let's see what they do here. And looks like 1, 2, and 3 hits. Now I did give the halflings light armor, so you do have an outside chance here to stop some of these. So you get 3 armor save rolls, and you need a 6 to save the wound with their light armor. And they got 1, so they lose 2, and we'll go ahead and take them off. Now lastly, for the shooting phase here, these Dark Elf scouts are going to fire into the Empire spearmen. The Dark Elf scouts are going to be -1 for moving and shooting, minus another 1 for shooting over half range, and minus a third 1 for firing twice with the repeater crossbows. However, Dark Elf scouts are ballistic skill 5 in this edition, and that means they're going to need 5s to hit here rather than their repeater crossbowmen's counterpart 6. So let's see if maybe the scouts can do a little bit better here. First volley coming in, need 5s or better. Not great. Looks like I see 2 in there. Let's see if the second volley does any better. Second volley from the scout. And let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 plus 2 is a total of 6 rolls to wound. Now that'll be strength 3, the repeater crossbow, versus the spearman's toughness of 3. So we'll need a 4 or better to wound. And looks like 3 wounds. And our Empire spearmen have light armor and shield, so they have a 5-up save on 3 dice here. Let's see how many they can do. And they stop 1. So 2 spearmen are going to go down underneath Dark Elf repeater crossbow bolts. Now the next phase would be melee, but there is no melee to do here at the end of turn 1. This is kind of how the table looks. You can see the Dark Elves have advanced and moved up on the flanks. The Cold Ones have moved up towards the Spearmen, hoping to charge them next turn. Corsairs are coming up on foot, and the repeater crossbows have moved up into firing range. So there's no close combat, and there is a magic phase. But the Dark Elves don't have any magic users because they got a War Hydra instead. And in 5th edition, you can't cast spells on your opponent's turn like you can in 4th. So the Empire Wizard over there in the tower doesn't have anything to do. So we're just going to go ahead and skip that and move into turn 2. So here's the start of Empire turn 2. Here's where everything is now. The only movement that happened on this turn was the Empire Militia moved out from the hedgerow and kind of wheeled around there in the hopes that maybe, just maybe, they'll get the charge off when those Corsairs advance. We'll see. They're going to take the risk of exposing themselves to fire from that unit of repeater crossbows. Will it be worth the risk? We will see. Anyway, that wraps Empire movement for turn 1. Let's get on with the shooting. So first up will be our Empire handgunners. The first rank of 5 is going to go ahead and fire. They're -1 for being over half range, so that will take them from a 4 to a 5 to hit with 5 shots. Let's see what they do. And not bad shooting, 3 out of 5. Looks good. Let's see how the wound rolls go. So the handguns are strength 4 to Dark Elves toughness 3, meaning they will need a 3 to wound. We've got 3 hits. Let's see what they do. And all of them wound. And so that's strength 4 with a extra -1 save modifier on it because it's a black powder weapon. So the Dark Elves, even though they have light armor, the musket balls just wipe right through that, and 3 Dark Elves are going to fall. So because that is a unit of 10, our Dark Elves are going to have to take a panic check because 3 out of 10 is greater than 25% casualties. So they're going to test on leadership 8 because they're more than 12 inches from the general. And we'll see what they do here. And they passed. Cool Dark Elves, not fazed by their comrades dropping down next to them in a hail of musket fire. Doesn't surprise me. It fits their character, right? Cool, callous Dark Elves. And they're going to continue on in the face of such losses. So next round of shooting here, we are going to move downfield to the halflings, and we will see what they do. So I should have waited till the end of the shooting phase to make that panic test on the Dark Elves. The halflings were going to fire into that unit anyway, since they're in the open and they only have light armor as opposed to the Corsairs Sea Dragon cloaks, which, if we remember from last game, have a funny habit of seeming to always roll 5s and 6s on their armor saves. So the halflings are going to pour some fire downrange into those exposed repeater crossbowmen, and it looks like we've got 2, 4, 6 halflings in the front rank here. We will see what they do. They are ballistic skill 4, so they hit on a base of the 3, but they're losing 1 for going over half range, so they're going to need 4s to hit. And it looks like 2 on those. Halfling bows are strength 3 to Dark Elves toughness 3. They're going to need 4 or better to wound. And 1 wounds. And the Dark Elves with light armor has a save of 6. And he fell. So 1 other Dark Elf will get removed. Now that just about does it for Empire shooting on turn 2. Looking at it now, I think I probably should have put those halflings in a wider formation so more of them can shoot. But hey, live and learn, and we'll see what happens. Moving on now to close combat. There is none. There were no charges declared, and there's no existing melees to roll. And we will move into the magic phase. And I realize now that I forgot to do it on turn 1, and we'll just say that Winds of Magic weren't working in turn 1. And here they come turn 2. Let's see what happens. So in 5th edition, you roll 2d6 to see how many Winds of Magic cards are dealt out on that particular turn. And if there is an odd number, the odd number card goes to the player whose turn it is. So if it's Empire turn, so if I roll odd, it's going to go to the Empire. Let's go ahead and roll 2d6, see how many cards get that. 4. So each side is going to get 2. Deal out 1, 2 to each. How I'm going to do this, since it's a solo game, is I'm not going to, and the Dark Elves don't have a magic user on their side. I'm not even going to look at the Dark Elf card. I'm just going to look at the 2 Empire cards here and see what they get. We have a Dispel card and a Power card. So before the game, I did have my son roll 2d10s to select from the appendix of the Warhammer Magic to see what spells we get. The first one is Lightning Power, which is a Power 1 spell. It's basically a 24-inch strength 6 hit with D3 wounds, no armor saves allowed. The second one is a Power 2 spell called Wind Blast, and it's a little more complicated. You got 46 inches on it, and basically it can knock things down and act as a barrier to missiles and spells and anybody trying to cross where the wind goes. So a little situational on that one, but we'll see if a use for it comes up in this game. But for now, we only got 1 power, as you just saw. So we're going to go ahead and try and cast the lightning on the Dark Elf Corsair unit. So here's power 1 for our Empire Celestial Wizard sitting over there in the tower. And let's see what cards the Dark Elves have. They have a power and a destroy spell card. So you can see here, destroy spell is a special type of dispel that if it works, it destroys the caster's spell for the rest of the game. And your base is going to need a 4 or 6 to hit it. However, the Dark Elves don't have a magic user, so they're going to be at -1 for dispelling with a lower level wizard. However, they do have an extra power card that they can play to boost their dispel. So it looks like +1, -1, they're going to need the base 4+ to hit the destroy spell. Let's see if they can do it. And a 1. So the destroy spell attempt fails, and the spell goes through, and it is a strength 6 hit to a toughness 3 Dark Elf. That's going to be a 2+ to wound, and it wounds, and there are no armor saves allowed. And the Sea Dragon Cloak, how it works is it is essentially an unmodifiable save. However, the rules do state that if something completely ignores armor saves entirely, like a cannonball, or like this particular lightning bolt spell, then the Sea Dragon Cloak is of no use. So, unfortunately for that Dark Elf Corsair, his Sea Dragon Cloak is good against many things, but not a bolt of lightning from our Celestial Wizard over there in the tower. So one Dark Elf is going to ride the lightning here. So that brings us to the end of Empire turn 2. Thankfully, our cannon will be back next turn. We had some nice fire from the handgunners. The militia moved out into the open, hoping to get a charge off on a future turn against the Corsairs. The halflings fired, knocked one Dark Elf, Peter Crossbowman, off his feet, and the spearmen over there are bracing themselves for the inevitable charge next turn of the Dark Elf Cold Ones, and our Celestial Wizard here in the tower zapped one of those Dark Elf Corsairs. So now we head into Dark Elf turn 2. So start of Dark Elf turn 2, you can see the repeater crossbowmen here. You can see the unit of repeaters on the right has been whittled down almost to half strength. There's the Corsairs. Here's our Hydra, who's decided that he just wants to take a little nap for a turn. Cold One's racing up, and Scouts here on the flank. We're going to go ahead and roll our Bound Monster rule on Mr. Hydra. He needs an 8 or less to succeed. And look at that, an 11. This Hydra, I don't know what he wants to do, but it's definitely not fighting. So let's go ahead and roll the result table, see what happens. And that's a 4. He's just going to sit around and keep munching the grass over there, taking a nap. Who knows what he's doing? You probably imagine something more interesting than that, but whatever it is, he is doing it rather than going over to go munch some spearmen. Maybe they let him eat too much before the battle. Who knows? We'll go ahead and roll the Cold One Stupidity off the General's Leadership 10. Let's see. And that looks like it's a 5 in there. 5 and 2 is 7, so they pass. So here is how everything is starting on the turn, and we'll check back in a moment, show you where everything ends up. So here's where everything ends up. The Scouts have marched up because the Cold Ones have charged the Spearman Regiment, and the Scouts can't shoot into close combat, so this makes sense to move up as much as possible. Our Hydra here is still munching grass. Corsairs have moved up, and our repeater crossbowmen have decided to stay put so they don't take a hit on their shooting downrange. So speaking of shooting, we now enter the Dark Elf shooting phase, and the unit of repeater crossbows there on the left is going to fire into the Empire Militia. Now they haven't moved this turn, however they are shooting over half range for -1 and firing 2 bolts for -2. That's going to take their natural roll of a 3 needed to hit up to a 5. So the first volley coming here in 10 shots. Let's see how they do. And looks like 1, 2 hits. Not great. See if the second volley does better. Second volley, needing 5. And also not great. 3 on this one, 2 on the first one, total of 5. Strength 3 on the repeater crossbow to toughness 3 on the militia, needing 4s to wound. And looks like 3 wounds there, and they have light armor, so they can save it on a 6. Let's see if that armor can come in handy. Close on 2. 1 did save though, so 2 Empire Militia will go down. Now it's the turn for the Dark Elf repeater crossbowmen on the right. They are also going to fire into the militia. However, this time they only have 6 to shoot because of the casualties they've taken. So they are going to do the same thing, fire 2 volleys into the unit. So they've got 6. That's going to be a total of 12. So I'll roll it in 2 sets of 6. So first volley coming in hot and firing much better. So that's 3 on the first volley. And second volley looks like another 3. So that's 6 hits. So 6 hits on the Empire Militia, strength 3 to toughness 3, needing 4s to wound. Here we go. Not so great on the wounding, only 2, and the Empire can take 2 armor saves on 6 for light armor, and they didn't make either, so 2 more Empire Militia go down. So 4 of 13 is going to cause a panic check on our friendly Empire Militia. They are outside of the leadership of their battle standard bearer's ability to make rerolls, the 12 inches for that, which, now I think about it, might only apply to break tests anyway. So bottom line is the same. These militia boys got to roll, and they got to get a 7 or less. And they get a 9. They've seen enough. They're like, these bolts are coming in, and we got Corsairs coming up in the front. Big fat unit of them. Karl Franz, you don't pay me enough for this. We're taking off. Let's see how far they run. 5. I think that'll keep them on the table. but they are going to break and run. So that is going to open things up for the Corsairs there in the center. And that's where the Empire Militia end up. They're almost off the board, but not quite. They will have one turn, next turn to rally. We'll see if they can do it. In the meantime, we are going to move over to close combat with the Cold Ones and the Spearmen over here and see what happens. So this is where it's going to get bloody. So the Dark Elf General is leading that Cold One unit. The Empire Defenders do have a hero and their battle standard bearer in that unit. So the Empire hero is going to live up to his designation as a hero and challenge the Dark Elf General, who cannot refuse because he has nowhere to hide. And he wouldn't anyway. He's an arrogant Dark Elf, right? So I've pulled both of them out of the combat, set them down here for you so we can have their challenge take place. The Dark Elf General did charge. He does have a lance, and he does have 4 attacks, so he's going to make those. He has a higher weapon skill than the Empire Hero, and so he's going to hit on 3s with his 4 attacks. Oh, look at that roll. None of them hit. Oh, his mind must be elsewhere. Either that or the Empire Hero really is quite the swordsman and parries those blows. However, it's not just enough to ward off the general. You're going to have to ward off his dinosaur as well. Now, little dino gets 2 attacks. He has a lower weapon skill than the hero, so he will hit on 4s. And one of them does come through, and strength 4 to toughness 4. He's going to need a 4 or better to land a wound. And he does wound. Now, our Empire Defender does have a shield and light armor. That is a base 5. It's going to drop down 1 for the strength modifier on the armor save, which is a thing in 5th edition. And so he will need a modified 6 to see if he can stave off the blow from the dinosaur. And he doesn't do it. So he is going to take a wound, which we will go ahead and note over here. But the fact that he's even alive after this round is frankly remarkable. So let's see how our Empire hero fights back. Can he harness Sigmar and teach a lesson to this uppity Dark Elf? So 3 attacks from our Empire hero. He has lower weapon skill than the Dark Elf General, so he's going to hit on 4s. And he lands 1, strength 4 to toughness 4. Yes, elf heroes and generals in this have toughness 4, the way it should be for properly heroic individuals. So he's going to need a 4 to wound. And he can't do it. So he gets his shot in, but it's not enough to land a wound on the Dark Elf General. However, their challenge will continue. And again, I'm proud of our little Empire hero for the fact that he's still standing after round 1. Now let's go ahead and roll the unit and see what kind of damage gets done. So before we do that, I just looked at my notes, and that Dark Elf standard is their battle standard bearer. So he's going to go ahead and roll his 2 attacks, hitting on 3s, 2 hits. And with the lance on the first turn, he's hitting at strength 6, so that'll be 2 or better to wound. Does he wound? He wounds 1, and the strength modifier from that will knock out the armor save. So Empire is going to lose 1 to that. And then we have 2 from his Cold One coming in. The Cold One will hit on 4s. 1 hits, and wounding on 3s, strength 4 to toughness 3, and it doesn't wound. Now we'll roll the riders. There are 1, 2, 3 riders in base contact. They have higher weapon skill than our lowly spearmen, so they're going to hit on 3s. However, one of these is going to be put into the battle standard bearer for the Empire. That's going to be the black dice. And we're going to go ahead and roll here. All of them hitting on 3s. So the battle standard bearer is hit, as well as 1 trooper. So we're going to go ahead and roll to wound the Empire Battle Standard Bearer on a black dice and the Trooper on a red dice. Both of these are going to need 2s. Both wound. And again, with the strength modifier on the lances, it's going to knock out the light armor and shield. So the Empire Battle Standard will fall, as well as 1 additional Trooper. Last but not least, we have 3 Hungry Cold Ones coming in for 6 attacks. They're hitting on 4s and wounding on 3s. Let's see what they can do. That is 3 hits and wounding on 3s. That's 2 wounds. The Strength 4 will drop the Empire Spearmen back to a 6 on their armor save. They need a boxcars here if they're going to have any chance of sticking around. And they don't get either one of them. So 2 more Empire Spearmen here are going to drop. This is not particularly looking good for the Empire Spearmen at this time. But they did, I think there might be some that are able to strike back. Give me a second and we'll do the calculation. So, because spears defend in 2 ranks, the Empire took 4 casualties. Well, 5. 4 rank and file, 1 being the Battle Standard Bearer for 5 casualties. So they do have the 4 troopers who are still going to be able to fight. So 4 Empire troopers hitting on 4s. 2 hits. All right, that'll work. Can they wound? Strength 3 to toughness 3. No wounds. So let's go ahead and tally up the combat res. So it looks like 1 wound on the hero in the challenge, and then 2, 4, 5 wounds from the casualties. So that's going to bring the Dark Elves to 6. They also have a banner, which will bring combat factors to 7 for them. The Empire did have a banner at the start of the combat, and they had 3 ranks at the start of the combat. So that's going to be 4 for them. So 7 minus 4 is 3. So they're going to test off the Empire Heroes leadership, which is base 8 minus 3. So Empire needs a 5 or less to stick around. And yeah, they were running no matter what. 11, yeah, that isn't going to do much for anybody. So they're going to take off. And let's see how far they go. Flee 2d6. They flee 5. And then our Dark Elves are going to pursue on 3d6. So let's see what they do. And they run them down. So yeah, let me clean this mess up. But the Empire Spearmen flee despite the heroic defense of their leader in the challenge. The rest of the men are not made of such metal, and they flee and they carry him with as they run, and their run down the dinos are eating well. This is the end of Dark Elf turn 2. You can see the Cold Ones have pursued over there. Scouts are coming up behind them. War Hydra doing his thing over there behind the hill. Must like it over there. The Corsairs are coming up into the gap left by the militia, who've turned tail and run. And the crossbows are just going to continue to pour fire down. As we enter turn 3, the Empire reinforcements will be arriving either from the left flank or the right, and our good friend, the Great Cannon, is going to get to fire again. So I think there is a little bit of chance, a little bit of hope left for our brave Empire lads that maybe, just maybe, from the jaws of defeat, they might be able to salvage a victory. Start of Empire turn 3. Here comes the cavalry, quite literally. We've got a unit of Pistoliers as well as a unit of Knightly Order Knights. led by the Empire General, hoping that they can come salvage the situation here that's rapidly unraveling. How this works in the flank attack scenario is that the flankers can arrive on turn 3. They can deploy up to 4 inches on the flank of their choice. However, they can't go closer than 12 inches to the enemy deployment zone, and they also, excuse me, they also can't charge on their first turn. So we're going to have to make some maneuvers, see how the Dark Elves respond. But first order business is to see if those militia are going to keep going, or if they're going to find their mettle and turn around to face the enemy. They need a 7 or lower on 2d6. And they are running. Still running. Let's see how far they go. I think anything above a snake eyes and they're gone. And they're gone. So bye-bye, militia. 2 games now. You have sorely disappointed all friends of the Empire. But keep running. I hope you find beer somewhere down the road. You'll need it. So checking in at the end of Empire movement, our Pistoliers have moved up, and our Knights just a little bit less so, because I wanted to keep them out of the 45-degree line of sight there, because I don't want my Knights getting charged by Dark Elf Repeater Crossbowmen. Up here we also put the Halflings into a single file line formation to get off some more shots as the enemy approaches. And our Great Cannon is back and ready for action. So let's lead off with that and see if it can redeem itself here on Empire turn 3. So here comes our Great Cannon shot. I decided to guess 12 inches. We'll go ahead and roll yield artillery dice and see if we can get... We don't want this. We don't want you again. Anything else might give us a chance here. We're putting the shot straight on the standard bearer. And let's see. 2. So it's going to be 14 inches. So that white die with the one facing you is 14 inches. Let's go ahead and see where how far the ball bounces. And misfire. So it just embeds itself in the dirt. Corsairs get hit with a bunch of spray as snow and grass and dirt. And, pretty much everything but cannonball. So that's unfortunate. This is clearly a very green crew on this gun. They do not seem to know what they're doing here. Yeah, it would have been good for the Empire to have a good clean bounce here, and maybe shave off a rank or so off those Corsairs that are coming in fast. But it's not to be. We'll see if the Halflings can do a little bit better. So our Halflings are shooting here. Most of them, 8 of them, are going to be within half range. So they're not going to take the penalty on that. However, everybody did move. So that will take their base of 3 to hit up to a 4. Here's the first volley from the guys who are within short range. And it looks like 3 hits. We'll pull those to the side for the moment. And then the looks like there's 4 remaining. They're going to need 5s to hit because they moved and they're over half range. And that's just 1 on those. So that's a total of 4 hits. Strength 3 to toughness 3. They will need 4s to wound. Let's see if they can do it. So that's 2 wounds. And Dark Elves have the Sea Dragon Cloak. Let's see if it can live up to its reputation from last game, where everything pretty much seemed to bounce off of it. You need a 5 or a 6. And 1 of them. So 1 Dark Elf Corsair does fall to the Halflings missile fire. Next up will be our Empire Handgunners. The front rank's going to fire. We've got 5 of them. They shot pretty well last time. Let's see if they can do it. They're still going to be over half range. They're still going to need 5s to hit. Let's see if they can rise to the occasion here as the Corsairs are closing in. Looks like 2. That's not bad. Strength 4 to toughness 3. You need a 3 or better to wound. And that's 2 wounds. And the Sea Dragon Cloak, however, is an unmodifiable save. So the armor piercing on those isn't going to matter. Dark Elf Sea Dragon Cloaks saving on a 5 or better. And what do you know? The reputation of the impenetrable Sea Dragon Cloak lives on. 2 5s there. That means both of those get stopped, and that is now 3 out of 4 stops for the Sea Dragon Cloak in this game. So the legend of the Sea Dragon Cloak lives on. Lastly, in what has been a relatively ineffective round of Empire shooting, we have our Pistoliers riding up and firing into the flanks of the repeater crossbowmen. We do have 4 Pistoliers shooting. Unfortunately, however, they're going to need 6s to hit because the range on a pistol is only 6 inches, meaning their half range is 3, and the Dark Elves are a bit beyond that. But we do have one champion, though, who is a ballistic skill 4, so he'll be able to hit on a 5, and we're going to note him with the big white dice. All the other Pistoliers will fire on the smaller white dice. So small dice are going to need 6s. The bigger dice can hit on a 5. And let's see if these Pistoliers can rise to the occasion and become heroes of the Empire with an epic volley. Well, they got 2. So let's see if they can wound. Strength 4 to toughness 3 or better. And 1 gets through, and that will negate the armor. So that is going to be 1 casualty here for the Dark Elves. Not enough to induce a panic test, but hey, at least it's something. And that wraps Empire shooting on turn 2. So sadly, there is no melee for our Empire heroes this turn. However, we do have a magic phase, and our wizard up in the tower is going to attempt to cast the lightning bolt on the Dark Elves. I'm going to go ahead and roll for Winds of Magic. And that's a 10, so I'll go ahead and deal them out. So the Empire player does have 3 power cards along with 2 dispels, which aren't going to do anything because the dispels only matter if there's an enemy wizard. However, he does have 3 power. He's going to spend 1 power to go ahead and try and cast Lightning Bolt onto the Dark Elf Cold One Knights. Let's check the cards the Dark Elves got and see what they've got. So Dark Elves only have a hand full of power cards. So there's nothing that they're going to be able to do to stop this one coming through. So it does hit automatically. It's strength 6, which will wound the Dark Elf Cold One Knight on a 2 or better. And it wounds, and there are no armor saves allowed for the lightning bolt. So 1 Dark Elf Cold One Knight will get vaporized. So because our wizard still has 2 power cards left, he's going to attempt to cast the Wind Blast spell that we talked about at the beginning of this. And how that works is it goes 46 inches. So we're going to go ahead and roll for that. And looks like it'll go 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's good enough to basically blow through that Dark Elf unit. Now the Dark Elves need to roll equal to or less than their strength on 2d6, or else they get blown down onto the ground. So you need a 3 or under. 4, it's close, but not enough. So that unit's going to get blown to the ground. They cannot do anything this turn. And then as long as the spell remains in play, they cannot move across it. So it's effectively going to block those Dark Elves from coming back as long as the wizard can keep that spell going. So I did mention at the beginning of the game, I wondered if it would be relevant, it would be have an opportunity to be of use, and it seems that it has. holding those Dark Elves in place. So to show the effect of that spell and the wind blowing, here we're just going to leave this marker here to remind us that there's this huge gust of wind and the Dark Elves won't be able to cross it while it remains in play. So starting off Dark Elf turn 3, we're going to roll for stupidity on the cold ones. They can't do anything because they were all knocked down by the wind spell, but we got to do it anyway just to see if they go stupid. And that's a 7, so they're fine. And then let's go ahead and check out our favorite Hydra right over here and see if he's done munching the grass here. 7. All right, so the Hydra, he's finished eating the grass, and he's decided that he's in business here on turn 3. 2 turns was enough for him, and he's going to do something. So we'll take care of Dark Elf movement and check in and show you where everything ends up. He's taking a quick look. Dark Elf scouts are going to stay in place, shoot up and try and take out that wizard. Corsairs have moved right up in front of the halflings. And our repeater crossbows have wheeled to try and get around to shooting off at the oncoming cavalry. And the Hydra has decided that horses probably taste good, so he's moving along down here to try and get into contact with them. We'll go ahead and do Dark Elf shooting. So for better or worse, our Dark Elves have decided they're going to drop all their bolts into the heavy cavalry, the knights over there. We've got 9 of them, and they moved, so they're going to be -1 to hit, and they're also over half range, so that's -2, and then they're going to fire 2 rounds from the repeater crossbows for a total -3. That's going to bring them up from 3 to 6. So let's see how they do. First volley of 9. Looks like 1 hit. Second volley, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Let's get all those together. And 3 on that one. So that's 4 total hits. Strength 3 to toughness 3, 4 better to wound. And that is 3 wounds. And can the Empire armor deflect it? There are 2 up save. And all of those save. So the bolts hit, they land true, but the Empire armor staves off any mortal wounds. We'll see if the next Dark Elf unit can do any damage. So the second unit has 6 repeater crossbowmen. Same story, they're going to need 6s to hit. First volley of 6. 1 hits. Second volley of 6. Second volley of 6 needing 6s. And nothing. So only 1 hit. 4 better to wound. It does wound, and 2+ armor save for the knights. Oh, and they fail. So the Dark Elves do manage to bring down 1 knight, which is critical because there's only 4 in the back rank. You need 4 for a rank bonus. So that's going to knock off 1 off the knight's rank bonus. We'll see if that comes to matter in the close combats to come. So here our Dark Elf scouts are going to try and help out their general by trying to shoot this wizard dead. We've got 10 of them, but they are shooting at an independent character, which is -1, shooting into hard cover, which is -2, and firing 2 volleys with the repeaters for a total of -4. Their ballistic skill is 5, so that's going to bring them to a 6 to hit. First volley at 10. Let's see what they can do. Pretty good shooting. That looks like 3. Second volley at 10. And not so good shooting. Only 1 on there. So total 4 hits on our wizard. Our wizard is a wizard champion, so he is toughness 4, means Those repeater crossbow bolts will need a 5 or better to wound. Let's see. One of them wounds, the rest do not. So that's going to drop our wizard down to 1 wound. So he's almost dead, but not dead yet. Critically, that means he's going to be able to keep that spell in place for at least 1 more turn and prevent those Dark Elves from moving. So here's the field of battle at the end of turn 3. Cold One Knights are trapped in there by that gust of wind from the wizard. Scouts are firing up, trying to snipe him off the ledge. We've got our Hydra coming into action here around the hill, looking to get over to those knights. The repeater crossbowmen are firing desperately to try and take down those knights before they can close. The Corsairs are looking to close with those halflings, and the Empire cannon and musketeers over there are still trying to pick off what Dark Elves they can as we head into turn 4. So we will now move in to Empire turn 4. Start of Empire turn 4, charges to declare. The Pistoliers are going to move in and make a charge against those repeater crossbowmen. I elected not to make a charge with the Empire Knights because they only move 6 because the heavy armor shield of their rider is -1 and the barding on the steeds is another -2, which gives them only a charge range of 12, and I just don't think they're in it. So I'd rather have them not fail a charge and get their full move of 12 in this turn and maybe set something up for them next turn. So we'll move chargers, do our rest of our moves, and check back in. You can see the Pistoliers have charged in. The Empire Knights have moved up. And the it's not the Corsairs trying to move. But there's no movement there. The Halflings are going to stand and try and get one last volley in. The handgunners are move or fire, so I don't want to move them. And the cannon is going to stay put as well, try and get a shot off. So we will check in a moment on Empire shooting. So first up will be the Empire handgunners, or as I like to call them sometimes, the musketeers. We'll see if they can let loose a volley. They're over half range, so it'll be -1, taking them up to 5s to hit on those Dark Elf repeater crossmen. See what they do. It's 2 hits, strength 4 to toughness 3, 3 or better to wound. And that's 2 wounds, and with the strength 4 and the armor piercing modifier from the black powder, that's going to negate the Dark Elf light armor and drop 2 of them. Next up will be the cannon. We're going to take a shot into the flank of the Corsairs. I'm going to go ahead and guess 7 inches. And we'll go ahead and mark that and roll an artillery dice. So I may have underguessed a little bit here, but we'll see what the artillery dice roll shows up. The 7 inches is marked there where you see the dice. And let's see. The artillery dice have been pretty brutal this game, but we'll see if it's going to change up our fortunes here for the Empire. And looks like another 2 on top of that, so we'll move it up 2 inches. That's where the ball lands. And then we roll a artillery dice again to check the bounce on it. And 4. Let's take a look. So 4-inch bounce looks like it's good enough just to hit that first guy there on the flank. It's not going to go any further, but it is a strength 10 hit, which will wound him on a 2+. It's got to be those Sea Dragon cloaks. It doesn't even wound him. Look at that, folks. Sea Dragon cloaks stopping cannonballs. I mean, these things sell themselves. Last but not least, we have our brave halflings who are going to fire a volley right into the faces of the oncoming Dark Elf Corsairs. We got 12 of those little fellas, so we'll do it in 2 volleys of 6. They didn't move, and the Corsairs are well within short range, so it's going to be a 3 up to hit. First volley is 6. And that looks like 4. Second volley. And that looks like 3 for a total of 7 hits. Now rolling the wounds, strength 3 to toughness 3. They need 4 or better. And looks like all but 1. So that's going to be 6 wounds. Putting the Sea Dragon cloaks to the test one last time. Alright, 6 armor saves for the Sea Dragon cloaks on a 5 or better. Here we go. And look at that, folks. Not a single save. Not a single one. So, got to give it up to the halflings here. I don't know. They got the Corsairs coming down right in their face. And they just fire off a volley, and they're going to shave off a rank and a half on these on these Corsairs. So, well done, little guys. I always thought you had it in you. And cheers to you to being the first ones to really pierce that Sea Dragon cloak. So critically, if I did the math right there, 6 out of 23 is more than 25% of the unit. So they are going to have to take a panic test, and their leadership 8, because they're Dark Elves, rolling on 2d6, and they pass. Sadly, even the well-placed arrows of the Halfling Bowman Company are not sufficient to dissuade these Corsairs from having their way with them. So the Corsairs will continue on and likely charge them in the next close combat phase. But what a great round of shooting from the little guys. So that wraps Empire shooting. We will then move over to the Pistoliers to work out close combat this turn. So pistols can be used in close combat. They, when combined with a hand weapon, which these guys have, they basically grant an extra attack. That's a shooting attack, but it's worked out off their weapon skill, and it does hit at strength 4. So the Pistoliers are going to have one pistol-based attack and then one with their hand weapon. So we'll do the pistol-based attack first. We have 4 of them who are going to be fighting at ballistic skill or weapon skill 3, and then the champion at weapon skill 4, which now that I think about it isn't going to matter because the Dark Elves are weapon skill 4. So everybody's going to hit on a 4 or better. Here we go. And it looks like 3 hits. Now these are strength 4 pistols to toughness 3 elves, so 3 or better. That's 2 hits, and again, being armor piercing, these guys, the light armor, it just cuts right through it with a -2 save modifier, so 2 elves are going down. Now for the Pistoliers close combat. Weapons, so there's 4 troopers and then a champion who has 2 attacks, so that'll be 6 attacks, hitting on 4s. Looks like 3 hits, and wounding on 4s. That's 2. Dark Elves have 2 light armor saves of 6+, and neither one succeeds. So that's 2 more Dark Elves gone. The Dark Elves have lost 4, but they have 5 in base-to-base contact, so 1 Dark Elf can attack back. He's going weapon skill 4 to weapon skill 3, so he's going to go ahead and hit on a 3+, which he hits, and strength 3, toughness 3, wounds on a 4 or better, and he does wound, and that's going to be a 5-up save for our brave Pistolier. Can he do it? He does not, so the Dark Elves take 1 back. So that is 4 casualties inflicted on the Dark Elves. Dark Elves inflicted 1, so that's a difference of 3. 3 off the Dark Elves leadership of 8 is 5, so they need a 5 or less on these 2d6. Let's see if they stick around. And they don't. It's close, but that's a 6, so Dark Elves are going to flee. Dark Elves flee 2d6. They flee 6. Pistoliers are going to give chase on 3d6. And that's enough to ride them down. So those Dark Elf repeater crossbowmen are ridden down underneath the hooves and pistol butts of our friendly pistoliers. Now, perhaps that wasn't the wisest thing for me to do, given that there is a Hydra who's probably in charge range. And if he's not in charge range, he's definitely in his flame range from his breath weapon. So, yeah, it's probably not going to end well for our pistoliers. However, a couple things. First and foremost, the Pistoliers, the Empire Army book talks about them being these impetuous sons of the young nobility. I don't think there's any way that they're not riding those Dark Elves down after breaking them in combat on their charge. Just doesn't feel right. And secondly, too, I want to take a Dark Elf unit off the field. With Leadership 8, they probably have rallied, and, it just... you got to take the opportunities you can, I think, to pursue the foe and hopefully ride him down. And Empire needed a little bit of good news here because things really have not been breaking their way today. So that's a little bit of good morale for the Empire side. Anyway, that does us for Empire Close Combat. We'll deal out the magic, see if the Dark Elves can get any dispels, and attempt to dispel that wind spell that's going on over there. All right, rolling for Winds of Magic. It's a 3. And the Dark Elves only draw a power card, so they're not going to be able to attempt to dispel on that spell. And the Empire Wizard is going to keep it in play because it's keeping a very dangerous unit locked up for the time being. So, yeah. That will conclude Empire turn 4. Start a Dark Elf turn 4. We're going to roll our Bound Monster roll to make sure our Hydra is still wanting to do what he's told. He needs to get 8 or less. And he does. And then we're going to roll Stupidity test for our cold ones over there. Make sure that they're able to do something this turn. And they're okay. If they can test on Generous Leadership 10. So they still can't cross the wind boundary coming off that wizard. However, I can at least use this time to turn them around. So hopefully when the Dark Elf scouts pick off that wizard, they'll be in a position to start riding down here and maybe engage the knights or do something else. So Dark Elf, beginning of the turn, the Corsairs are going to charge Halflings. Halflings, of course, are going to flee because there's no way they're winning it if they stick around. So Halflings are going to flee 2d6. Looking for boxcars here, guys. 8, that's solid. Dark Elves will pursue. 2d6. 5. So, yeah, I think, let's go do the measurements. So our Halflings rolled an 8, and unfortunately that is going to carry them off the table because I just checked the rules, and if at least one model in the unit makes it off, the whole unit is considered having fled off the table. So bye-bye, Halflings. I'm glad that you at least ran away and hopefully lived to fight another day, and what a great volley that you had before you ran. So we will remember you. Since the Corsairs didn't catch them, they're treated as having made a failed charge, so they basically run into the side of that building, which may help the Empire a little bit. Next charge to declare will be from our Hydra into the Pistoliers, and he's going to make it with a 12-inch charge range, so he's in. Well, before I do that, let me do the charge reaction, which is that they're going to run. So they'll flee 3d6. 3d6 for the Pistoliers. Looks like 4, 4, 4. That's going to be 12. And Hydra is going to pursue. 2d6. 4. Well, actually, sorry. Yeah, no, that's right. But he didn't catch him, but then it's treated as a failed charge, so he'll move up 6. Pistoliers are going to run 12. So that's where that ends up. And we'll move right into Dark Elf shooting. First up, These repeater crossbows are going to fire right into the oncoming knights. Hopefully nick off one or two. Let's see what they can do. So they're firing twice with the repeater crossbows. That's going to put them at a 4 or better to hit with 8 dice. Let's see how they do. And it looks like 2, 4, 5. 4 or better to wound. If they do well here and force enough armor saves, they may drop 1 or 2 of these knights. Let's see. 4 or better. 2. All right. 2 armor saves at 2+ for our knights. And they passed both of them. It was worth a shot. Next shooting is over here from our scouts. They're going to fire and try and take out that wizard. As we established last turn, they need 6s to hit. So here we go. First volley. Oh, look at that. 3 hits. And we'll go ahead and do the second volley. Also needing 6s. And 2 more. So that's 5 hits. Needing 5 or better to wound because it's strength 3 to toughness 4 on the wizard. However, he already has 1 wound from last turn, so a single 5 or better, and our brave wizard is going down. And there it is, folks. 2 6s. Our brave celestial wizard who did what he can to try and hold back the Cold One horde. He's going down under a well-placed bolt from one of those Dark Elf scouts. So good job, Sir Wizard. You did your part for as long as you could. Brave man. And you can see the loss of the wizard frees up the Cold Ones to move next turn. Now that is a wrap for the end of turn 4. Now this scenario says that you should roll for turns at the beginning of the game. I don't like to play it that way because I don't like to know exactly what turn the game's going to end on. So under the rules for rolling at the beginning of the game, 1 to 2 would mean that it ends at the end of turn 4. So we're going to roll now. If it's a 1 or 2, game is going to end. Anything higher, and it will go on. And it's a 4, so the game will continue for at least 1 more turn. We are start of Empire turn 5. Our wizard is dead. The militia have fled. The halflings have fled. The spearmen have fled. All that is left is a cannon that can't seem to do anything right. Some musketeers over there who've done decently, but if they move, they can't shoot. We've got some knights coming in and some pistoliers who are running like heck away from this Hydra. Let's go ahead and see if we can rally those. They're within 12 of our general, who's right there, and see if they can do it. Leadership 9 on our general. Just barely do our friendly pistoliers turn back around to face the Hydra for 1 more turn. And charges to declare, we're going to have these guys charge right into those Dark Elf repeater crossbowmen. I know they make it because that's easily within 12. And we'll go ahead and take a look if there's any shooting to be had. So before we do any shooting, I do want to make one move with our handgunners here. They're just going to turn around and get ready to face the inevitable charge from the Dark Elf Corsairs when the time comes. They're moving fire, so they can't fire this turn. It would have been nice to get some enflating fire into them, but not going to happen. Hopefully it'll be enough to get off a stand and shoot. And then our cannon here is going to take a little pot shot down range at the Hydra. See if maybe the 4th, 5th time is a charm. We'll see. So my opening guess with Mr. Cannon is going to be 24 inches. I'm going to go ahead and mark that, and we'll take a look where that is. So there's 24 inches at the 1. Going to roll one of these crazy misfire dice to see how far we get on added to that. And it's going to be 8. I think we might actually overshoot. Let's take a look. And look at that, folks. That is just the narrowest of misses, but it is a miss. 8, just is going to put our shot right down there, right on the other side of his base. And then the balls are just going to bounce off harmlessly into the background. So the woes of our cannon crew continue even into the 5th turn, unable to really do any serious damage to the enemy. The Hydra is probably wondering, what was that? What just happened? But anyway, we'll see. I think that takes care of Empire shooting, and there's no close combat to be had. And our wizard is dead, so not a lot for Empire. Oh, there is close combat. What am I talking about? Right here, right in front of me. All right, so give me 1 second. We'll check right back in on that. So first up on that is going to be 4 attacks from our brave general. He's going to hit on 3 or better. Oh, what's up with the generals today? They can't hit anybody. 1 hit. He does have a lance, so it's going to wound on 2s. That's good enough to kill 1. And we've got 3 knights who are attacking. Weapon skill 4, weapon skill 4, so they're going to hit on 4s. That is a 1 hit, wounding on 2s. And that drops another one. And then 4 brave war horses hitting on 4s. That's 2. And wounding on 4s. Come on, war horses. Let's knock these Dark Elves out. And 1. Dark Elf gets a light armor save. 6 up. Not good enough, but there is going to be 1 Dark Elf left to fight back. And you know what? Shame on me. I forgot. The Knight in the Black Armor is a champion. So I didn't roll 2 attacks for him. So he does have 1 more. And it should be hitting on 3s because he's going to be weapon skill 5 because he's a champion. So 1 attack, hitting on 3s. It hits with the lance. Going to wound on a 2+. And that'll do it. Thank you, champion, for wiping out that 2nd unit of Dark Elf crossbows. So that will conclude Empire turn 5. On to Dark Elf turn 5. So no charges to declare. I did check the angle on this. I do think the knights are out of this guy's 45-degree angle. And they're way out of the 12-inch charge range to hit the pistoliers. So I think what I'm just going to have him do is in the movement phase, he's just going to go ahead and turn and walk up to those knights and drop his flame weapon on them. No other charges to declare. It's going to be just a turn for maneuver, reforming. Corsair's got to turn. The cold one's got to come up. The scouts got to start running somewhere where they can do something. So we'll go ahead and do those and show you where everything ends up. So here's where everything ends up after Dark Elf movement, turn 5. Our Hydra has moved up and is going to go drop his flaming breath on these knights. The cold ones have moved out from behind that building. The Corsairs have wheeled and moved up a little bit to try and charge those Empire handgunners next turn. And the scouts have marched over to try and make themselves relevant if somehow things don't go as planned with Mr. Hydra. With that, let's go ahead and move right into Dark Elf shooting. Hydra here is going to drop his breath weapon, and I think that covers 3 in the first rank, including the general. We'll say 4, and then the 3 in the back rank. So we will say the red one is for the general. The black one will be for the champion, and then there's 5 regular Joes who are also hit. So looking at that, they are hit on a 4 or better. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Okay, general and champion are okay. Oh, look at that. Only one guy gets hit by the flaming breath, but it does hit at strength 7. So it will wound on a 2+, which it does. And strength 7 would be a -4. Yeah, it'd be a -4, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6. So on a 6, the knight will still somehow not get roasted in his armor. Close, but no cigar. So one knight does go down to the flames of the Hydra. And that's going to wrap Dark Elf turn 5, mostly a turn of maneuver and some weak Hydra fire. So in keeping with the spirit of my modification to not know when a game's going to end, so we already rolled for turn 4. So by the rules, a 3 or 4 would mean that it ends on turn 5. So any number at this point between 1 and 4, game's going to end. 5 or 6, we will go on for a 6th turn. Let's see what happens. And that's a 4. So by rule, the game would end at the end of this turn. So there we go. I'm going to take a moment here and add up victory points, figure out who won this mess, because it's not obviously clear to me at this point, and we'll check back in a second. So just doing the quick VP calculations, looks like the Dark Elves get 3 for breaking the Empire Spearman unit, 1 for the Militia, 1 for the Halflings, 1 for the Wizard, 2 for the Empire Battle Standard Bearer that was in that Spearman unit, and 1 for their table quarter over there. And Empire look like they get 2, 1 for each of the repeater crossbow units. So in the end, it is more lopsided than I thought it would be. Looks like 9 victory points for the Dark Elves to 2 for the Empire. So that is a resounding victory for the servants of the Witch King. So another Dark Elf victory. They're 2 for 2. Things appear to be going well for them. But that is a wrap for the flank attack scenario in Warhammer Fantasy Battles 5th edition.